Good morning, everyone. We continue in the book of Shoftim, Perek Chaf, Pasuk Gimel, chapter 20, verse 3. The Jewish people have gathered together, and they have to deal with the issue of the Pilegesh Begiva. So, Pasuk Gimel, Vayishmu b'nei Binyamin, and the people of Binyamin. Now remember, Giva was in Binyamin. So it's not like the people of Binyamin didn't hear what was going on, that the whole Jewish people were very upset about what went on. So they heard Ki Olu B'nai Yisrael HaMitzpah. They heard that the Jewish people had gathered together in Mitzpah. Now the next line is a little debate as to how to learn the next line. Vayomru B'nai Yisrael. So, and the Jewish people said, Dabru, speak. Eicha niyasa hara hazos. How could such a bad thing be? How could this bad thing be? So the Michalowicz explains what does it mean by Yishvu. What did they hear exactly? What did the Bnei Binyamin hear in this pasuk? So one interpretation is they heard that the Jewish people gathered together, and what's being emphasized either way is that Binyamin couldn't care less about what was happening, and they didn't do anything about it. They didn't do anything about it, and that's what the Jewish people said, and says, how could be such a thing? In other words, the Jewish people heard, Binyamin heard that the Jews came together. Binyamin isn't doing anything about it, and the Jews said, how could it be? That number one, what happened, and Binyamin isn't even concerned of what's going on over there. It's like double. It's like, how could the incident happen? And how could it be that the people of Binyamin, they don't care to come in here and discuss the issue? Or you could say that the Bnei Binyamin heard everything that was going on. In other words, the main question is the second clause. Is this in referencing the Bnei Binyamin's indifference or not? Or rather, it's all the Jewish people heard. It's on, isn't it on?
It's on, but you don't look good.
I don't look good. Right, do I look better? Okay. Thank you. And the Jewish people, or the Bnei Binyamin heard everything. They heard that the Jews got together. They heard that the Jews said, how could such a thing happen? And they heard everything. In other words, from Pasuk Gimel all the way. They heard all the way through Yud Aleph. Okay, it's a difference of opinion exactly what is it that they heard. As well, the Malbim similarly says that Binyamin, they knew everything is going on. They heard that the Jews said, how could such a terrible thing happen? But the main point is that they didn't come. And even after everything was said and done from Pasuk Yud Beis, Binyamin was not fazed, and they didn't do anything to try to rectify the situation. And especially, what the Jews are going to decide what to do is going to be based on evidence and testimony that they get. So you'd figure the people of Binyamin would come to clarify. It was only a few individuals. It doesn't represent the whole Shevet. How do people decide what to do based on what kind of testimony you get? You'd probably hope to see the Binyamin say, listen, don't get so excited. There's mitigating circumstances. Maybe she died for other reasons. There's a lot of things that the people of Binyamin could have said to involve themselves, and it is one of the interesting questions in this story as we will go on in this chapter. Bnei Binyamin, they just never were involved in the discussion of the topic, and that remains a bit of a mystery. Unless you're going to say, quite arrogant people, they say we don't have to answer to you people. So they didn't want to get involved to even say what factors could be involved. Now the word eicha, of course, we know is a very famous word. Eicha, we've had this many times throughout the Tanakh. First of all, the first time you have the letters Aleph, Yud, Chav, Hey in the Torah is not spelled Eicha, but it's spelled Ayeka. And that's when Hashem said to Adam Arishon, the first man, after he sinned by eating the forbidden fruit, he said, Ayeka, where are you? Meaning to say, what have you done? In other words, you aren't where you ought to be. You're not in the right place as a human being is. And that connotes a failure of mankind. Whenever those letters, Aleph, Yud, Chaf, Hey, it connotes a failure of mankind. Also you have by Moshe Rabbeinu, he says, Eicha, how is it possible for me to carry the burden of the Jewish people? Same letters. So, same word. So there's something, Eicha always means something not good is happening. It's interesting that Eicha occurs in the Torah 17 times. 17 times. And 17 is not a good number, because 17 is the gematria of egos, which means a nut, and it's the same gematria mystically, although not spelled in Hebrew, as the word chet. There's an extra one, but the rabbis, the reason, remember, we don't eat nuts on Rosh Hashanah, because it has the gematria of chet, even though it's technically chet is 18, but chestes is 17, whatever. So it's not a good word. Now, on the other hand, if you look at the letters Eicha, look at the four letters, Aleph, Yud, Chaf, Hey, the gematria, not the number of times it comes in the Torah, but the actual gematria of the word Eicha, Aleph is 1, Yud is 10, Chaf is 20, Hey is 5, equals 36. So, 36, what's so special about the number 36? Well, we know in a mystical sense, there are 36 hidden tzaddikim in the world. But what is so particular about 36? 36 is the number that connotes the majority of a Sanhedrin, of a Jewish court. The high Jewish court has 71, and the majority of that would be 36. So what that means to say that 36 tzaddikim, they rule in a Sanhedrin, and 36 tzaddikim are supposed to direct the world. In other words, from the Sanhedrin, we're supposed to get clarity, guidance. People learn how to behave properly. So if there is a failure in those 36, and they fail in their mission, it creates an eicha, it creates a shortcoming within the Jewish people. And there's a very condemning Yalkut Shimoni, a medrash regarding this issue. And the Yalkut Shimoni asks, who was responsible for the death of almost 70,000 people? That's going to come up in this story very shortly. It's more than 1/10 of the, almost 1/10 of the Jewish population. And, you'd figure, well, could be the tribe of Binyamin was responsible. You'll see, close to 70,000. So you would think, well, the people in Giva could be responsible, the people of Binyamin could be responsible, maybe the Jewish people together, because they weren't, seemed to be a little bit quick to respond. More, the Yalkut says nothing doing. It was the Sanhedrin's fault. The Sanhedrin's fault. Why? Because they should have gone around from city to city and taught people what's the proper way to act before such crimes happen. They should have been itinerant judges and teachers going from place to place. And if they would have gone to a place like Giva, they would have seen what kind of licentiousness was going on there, and they would reprimand them and try to deal with it. Instead, each of the judges sat under his palm tree, as it were, and said, if you guys got any problems, you come to us. If we don't tell us any problems, we're going to just sit and learn. So that is the condemnation of the Sanhedrin. So that's the Eicha of 36, which represents a majority of the Sanhedrin, that there wasn't enough interest on the part of Sanhedrin to deal with the day-to-day life before problems came into being. Really, any law system should mainly be involved in teaching. If you teach people how to behave, you'll probably have less crime as opposed to reacting to crime. So really, the Yalkut condemns the Sanhedrin for all the negative things that happen. As we will see, again, not that necessarily it's in the chronological order, but after Shoftim, the next real leader is Shmuel Hanavi. And we know about Shmuel Hanavi, indeed he was an itinerant teacher, and he went from place to place, and he, so to speak, learned the lesson of past history of how the Sanhedrin failed in its role. Shmuel improved on that role, as we will see when we will get to the book of Shmuel. Okay, so now we continue on Pasuk Zion. So the inquiry begins. So the people are saying, well, how could this happen? So Vayana Isha Levi, so the Levi man, okay, the husband of the Pilegesh. Now look carefully at his words. Now we know how he treated his Pilegesh, okay? But now let's see how he describes what happened. What details he omits, what spin he puts on this. Vayana Isha Levi, Ish ha'isha ha'nirtzacha vayomar. First of all, the way it's written, the man, the Levi, Isha, the husband of the wife. So it's writing it in a way of how he is going to present himself.
No,
he's going to act like he's the loving husband, and they were very close, and it was such a deep marriage. It's like Ish ha'isha, the man of the woman. I mean, it's like doubly strengthening this, and he's going to embellish the story. Hanirtzacha, who was murdered. You know, the way he's going to bring it across, they blatantly murdered her. Vayomer, he said, Hagivasa asherli binyamin basi. So to Giva, which is in Binyamin, I came. Ani upalakshi lalud. Me and my Pilegesh, we came to stay overnight. And all he has is one pasuk to say all about it. Vayukumu alai ba'alei hagiva. And the Baalei Hagiva, the Baal means a master, like the important people, the Chashuvim, the important people, the dignitaries of Giva came. And that is definitely not true, because it said the Bnei Belial, the people who had no fear of God, came. It was the Hells Angels bikers, not the mayor and the city council. Okay? He's saying the Chashuvim, the important people of Giva came. Vayasobu alayas abayis, they surrounded me of the house, and it's exactly not the word alai. Remember we said yesterday, the Malbim said the difference between Sodom and this was by here it said Vayasobu el habayis, not alai, which means to say that they all came together as a whole group. Loila, and what is it? Osi dimula harog, me they were planning to kill. Didn't find anywhere in the story they're planning to kill him. They wanted to sodomize him, not necessarily kill him. That's pilagshi inu vatamos. And my Pilegesh, they caused her a lot of suffering, and she died. So he's kind of saying, it was clear to me if I didn't allow them to do this terrible thing, they would kill me. So he really plays it up. I'm not saying these guys from Binyamin were good guys, but there's different ways of playing it up. Remember, the Malbim explained that people from Binyamin, they were basically into znus. They're into immorality. So he is trying to bring all kinds of factors to make him look good and them look bad. The Malbim adds a few other points over here. He says, well, maybe the facts we have, according to Mom, like she was mizana under the husband. She was already not faithful to him even before. So he takes away these ideas, and they were like a regular people. They got married regular, and she was permitted to him, and it wasn't any problem, and they were a regular husband and wife. And it's not like she died because of the cold or anything. They just brutally murdered her, and he starts off trying to make it seem more like stone in the superficial ways in which it did look like stone. That's the one he emphasizes, that just like in stone there were guests who came and Lot called them in, and now these people are acting just like in stone, and they all came upon me, even though I had no business with them, and it wasn't just anybody, it was the dignitaries, and so all these things, he's trying to play it up to be really much worse than it was. So instead of it being a manslaughter crime, all right, it is now, premeditated first-degree murder, and that's the only thing they were planning on, and they really wanted to kill us, and this and that. Where, we don't really know. It would be something that really have to be objectively observed. Okay, so he continues in Pasuk Vav. So what did I do? So their mamish came to kill me. The knives were in their hand. They're ready to slit my throat. And I had to do something to save myself from these terrible, wicked people. So what did I do? So then I gave the Pilegesh, and that was the end of the story. A lot. He doesn't mention the fact that he didn't stay up all night for her. Like a lot of things. Like it was you're so concerned about your wife, so like he makes things. Well, they just killed her. Brought her right to they raped her, this and that, and they killed her, and they dumped her in front of my doorstep dead. That's not what happened at all. She was very much alive when she came to his doorstep. He was sleeping away. Couldn't care less about it. So all these little details put a different spin onto the story. And you'd figure, if Binyamin would have come, they would have said, they would have clarified it. They would have brought in the Hell's Angels guys, and they say, listen, let's hear the story. Your side is certain. No, but for some strange reason, nobody in Binyamin cares at all. They're not going to. You guys do what you want. We're not interested in anything you're dealing with. Okay, so the guy continues with his story. So I took my Pilegesh after she was brutally murdered, and I cut her up into pieces. I sent it to all the areas of the fields of the inheritance of Israel. Now he adds words, Ki asu zima unavala b'Yisrael. They did a zima. So Metzudah says they planned asu zima. Zima comes from the word. Can have two meanings. One can be from the word asher zomam, which they were planning on doing. So that's what he's adding. They were planning on it. Ki asu zima, they did something with premeditation. Unavala, and a disgusting thing to Israel that's happening amongst the Jewish people. Now you could, and it, in fact, it was a public act, and it was without any shame. So it was a very disgusting thing that they planned and that they went through on. So it does. So Pasuk Zion, it doesn't seem to make any break over here. So it seems these are words from the Levites as well. Hinei kulchem b'nei Yisrael, you are all of the Jewish people. Havu lachem davar ve'etzalam, come up with some idea of what to do over here. It would seem that he is still talking, and he says, we're all a holy people, and this has been perpetrated against us as a people. So therefore, come up with some plan of how we can deal with this situation. This thing won't happen again. And the Malbim explains as well that since you're all together, you have the status of a king who can make decisions as what is necessary in terms of emergency measures. So havulach amdever, come up with a decision, and then an eitzah and a way to work through the decision, make the decision happen. Okay, so that's the two things: havulach amdever and an eitzah. How are we going to? Whatever you're going to decide, you decide to kill him. Okay, what's going to be the plan to make that go through? Okay, so that's the end of the Levi's plea before them. So how did the Jewish people react? Pasuk Ches. Vayakom kol ha'am ki ish echad leimor. So all the people get up as one man, unified, and they say, Lo nelech ish la'alo, no man should go to his home, Lo noser to his tent, Lo noser ish lebeso, no man should turn back to his house. Okay, which means to say that no one should go even for a moment. In other words, you can't go home in general, and more than you can't go home in general, not even just to stop off and get provisions for the way. We're going to go directly from here and do what we have to do. Don't go home to your wives and kids. That also is interesting. I mean, they obviously don't want the thing to ride. They want to deal with it immediately. And that means they're going to be sending men to war. And then the guys can't even say goodbye to their wives, whatever, because obviously it's one tribe against 10. As you'll see, the numbers, Binyamin is outnumbered close to 20-1. So they figured this will be really quick and easy, what we're going to do. So don't even go home. Let's just do this immediately. And don't even go to your home for a little bit. And this is what we will do to Giva. First of all, Aleha Begoral, we will deal with it with a lottery. What does that mean? We'll make a lottery to determine who is going to fight and who is going to be getting the provisions that are necessary. That's one interpretation of the Mitzvahs. Or the Malbim says this is what we're going to do regarding Giva. that for that, in order to kill out and destroy all the sinners, because in the beginning they only wanted to kill the sinners and not the whole city. But we'll see in a minute why it becomes more than that. Pasuk Yud. So how are we going to decide what to do? In other words, we want to go right to battle. I go right to battle. What provisions? I mean, it could take a couple of days. People got to eat. So they said, Yud, we will take 10 men for every 100, l'chol shifti Israel, of all the tribes of Israel, u'mei alaf, and 100 for every 1,000, ve'elef l'ravav, and 1,000 for every 10,000, l'kachat seidalam, to get provisions for the nation. Now, nobody seems to pick up on the repetition of the fraction, 10 to 100, 100 to 1,000, 1,000 to 10,000. I mean, it's all the same thing. It's 1 to 10. In other words, 10% of the guys will get provisions and 90% of the guys are going to fight. So nobody seems to comment why it keeps being repeated over here. Be that as it may, that's the goral, that's the lottery they have to do. They draw lots. Who stays to get the provisions and who goes out to battle. And that's what he's saying. Lasos lavoam legem binyam kechol hanevola asher asab Yisrael. To do as we come to the area of Giva in Binyamin, according to the disgusting behavior that was done to the Jewish people. This is what how we have to deal with. In other words, to pay them back as is befitting a group of people who did such a disgusting thing. And all the Jewish people gathered up against the city, all of them chaverim, all of them like good buddies. In other words, they all agreed to this idea. It was almost like a mob scene. You're talking about a lot of guys. I mean, a lot, hundreds of thousands of people, and somehow, doesn't say who, but they were able to be all coordinated together with one mind to be able to do this. And that's the idea of chaverim, as if they're good friends, and there wasn't. Usually, you figure there'd be a lot of bickering. You get so many Jews together, there'd be lots of different ideas, lots of different plans. No, it seems that this was the one plan. We're going to go, and 90% are going to go right up there, and we're going to do what we have to do. Now, this is the first time we find in the book of Shoftim where the Jewish people all came together to do something. So we're going to have to bear that in mind a little bit later as we analyze the story. We see there is a concept of Ein Melech B'lo Am. There's no such thing as a king without a people. So the people now show they can get together. So maybe later on in the book of Shmuel, they'll be able to make a king over these people. But we'll see more about this. Is there a question?
No, I was going to say, you said nobody commented about the...
Yes? You found someone?
I think so, because they're so precious. We count them again and again and again. Kol Yehudi hu yakar. So one said, and then 100 repeating, because they know...
I mean, they're precious, but I don't think that's the way they're describing how they counted them.
Kol Yisrael chaverim, and they're all together.
But I don't think...
Because they're going to war.
Yeah, but I don't think they had time to count them over 3 times. You know, it's not a hard way to decide how you get 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10. They drew lots, right? You drew lots. Based on how many people you have, you make 1/10 of the lots say food, and 9/10 say war. So C would be 1 lottery. I don't know, unless you want to say the 3 lotteries. I don't know. We would have to find a chazal that would support such an idea. And it's like mamish. Nobody talks about it. You figure the Malbim stuff. Nobody talks about it. Okay, we'll have to another time find out. Okay, pasuk Yud Beis. So what do? So at least, as the Meforshim explain over here, you just don't go right to battle. So Yud Beis, vayishluchu shifti Yisrael anashim b'chol shifti Binyamin leimor, so that the tribes of Israel sent messengers throughout all the shifti Binyamin. Literally means tribes, but it means over here shevet by Binyamin means the prestigious families. When you have, Binyamin was a big tribe, so there were different family units, big units of families, heads of, not talking about family of, a father and a son and some kids. I mean, huge families that we'll see there were 10 of these huge units. So they're sending to all the large groups within Binyamin, saying, what is this evil thing that came with you guys? In other words, before they went to go to battle, they want to give them a last chance, just like we go to the Canaanites. You give them a chance. You say, would you like to make peace, etc., etc. So they're sending word and say, like what's going on over here? Now it's interesting. So that's the Michalowicz explains that Shevet means the mishpachot, the big families. The Radak adds, again, they're bothered with that word shifte. It's not a tribe, not tribes of Binyamin. It's one tribe. But again, he says a big family. The mishpacha is called a shevet. And then he brings down from a chazal that where has he said that as things developed, they had such big families. Each family was like a tribe, and they said, "We have 10 families. You have 10 tribes, and we'll take you guys on 10 against 10." Although they're still vastly outnumbered, but as if we could take you guys on. Now, where are we up to Yud Beis? And what the Malbim adds is to say that the Navi is describing the evil of the people of Binyamin, where the Jews want to open up with peace, and they say, "Look how bad things are. That things have happened, and you should be the ones to deal with this first." In other words, why didn't you take care of the perpetrators? Don't you have any police department? Don't you have anybody to deal with this? So now at least you haven't done that. So Pasuk Yud Gimel, they're still sending word and says, "V'atoy now tnuas anashim b'nei Belial asher bagiva unemisem." So it seems that perhaps the Jews didn't fall for the whole story of this Levi, because they say, "Hand over the b'nei Belial." Remember, he said the chashuvim, the important people. The Baalei Shem, they say B'nai Belial. They didn't, I think, buy the whole story, and they said, "Well, let's have the people without the yoke of heaven. I mean, hand over the bad guys. We'll kill them. We'll burn out the evil from the Jewish people." In other words, the Jews, they didn't want to go to a major war against Binyamin. They just, listen, the perpetrators, the bad guys are in your shevet. Hand them over, which is not such a terrible request. And once the evil has been taken away from the Jewish people, and altogether we get rid of it, then everything will be fine, and we'll go back in peace. Just hand over the 10, 15 guys, whatever. That's the end of it. So what happens? End of the Pasuk Gimel. V'lo avu b'nei Binyamin, or b'nei Binyamin lishma b'kol acheim b'nei Yisrael. The tribe of Binyamin did not want to listen to the voice of their brothers, the voices of the Jewish people. Just ignored the message. We don't see any nothing is recorded what they said. They just would not bring them out. And more than that, the Malbim explains, and they gathered up the troops, and they're ready to fight the Jewish people for this. So, if that's the case, they're getting no response, so the Jewish people have no other idea. They're wondering, where are the peace brokers of the world? This is the first time now you're having the beginnings of a civil war. Now, where is somebody to say, listen, let's try to deal with this? Send in a what do you call a SWAT team, and just try to get the perpetrators and just deal with them. I mean, there's a lot of options on the table. Seems straightforward. Hand the guys over, no, and we'll fight over it. And Jews said, okay, we're going to go to war with this. So that's what happens. Yud Daled. So all the people of Binyamin, they gather themselves up from the mountains, and they all meet in Giva to go to war against the Jewish people. It's like unbelievable. You had one group of terrible guys, and everybody's coming to their defense. Okay, Tesvav. So the Binyamin people were counted they gathered them up together and they made a tally of all the people who were there from Binyamin and from the different cities. Esrim v'shishim elef ish sholev charev, 26,000 infantrymen. That's what Binyamin was able to muster up. Levad, besides miyoshvei hagiva, those who lived in Giva, haspaktu shvameyos ish bachur, 700 choice soldiers. So Giva obviously was not such a big city. 700 choice soldiers. So that's how big it was. Plus 26,000. That is the extent of the troops of Binyamin. Okay. And what else we know about them? Mikol Hamazef. From all that group, they had Shvameyos Ish Bachur, 700,000 choice people. Iter Yad Yamino. What did I say?
700,000.
I'm sorry, 700. I shouldn't have said 1,000. 700 choice fighters who were Iter Yad Yamino. Iter Yad means weakness of the right hand. Means they were lefties. They were lefties. And look what they could do. Kolza kolea bo'even el hasar v'lo yachti. They could hurl like either like what do you call it, a slingshot or hurl, whatever. They could hurl a stone from a great distance and hit a hare as a target and not miss. In other words, whatever, they had some really good soldiers over there. There's some real good soldiers over there. And so it doesn't say exactly which one of the 700. I mean, it could be it's the original 700 of in Giva, whatever. But that is the unit that they have. Interestingly, how people from Binyamin means Benjamin, the son of the right. So they are lefties now, meaning they're not acting like the original Binyamin. So what's the idea? Again, the idea the right hand is symbolic of chesed, of kindness, and the left hand is control. The right hand is kindness, loving Jews. The left hand is wanting to fight. So it shows Binyamin, which should have the quality of loving kindness, they had the quality of let's just fight. They're just fighting. Okay, so this is the Binyamin side. Now let's see the other side. Yitzayin, the Ish Yisrael Hishpaktu, and now we count up the Jewish people. Levad mi Binyamin, aside from Binyamin, and how much were the Jewish side? Arba Meos Elef Ish Sholev Cherev, 400,000 infantrymen. Kol Ze Ish Milchama, all of them were men of war. All right, so it's stacking up a very one-sided, lopsided battle. 400,000 to 26,000. It's great margin is in favor of the Jewish people. Obviously, 10 tribes against one, and they did all the battle plans that were necessary. And what's interesting, now we already mentioned 400,000 got together, right? That was when they got together in the beginning, right? Pasuk Beis yesterday, we mentioned 400,000. Why are we mentioning 400,000 again? We know that 400,000 were gathered together. So why is it 400,000 again? To show that nobody chickened out.
Yeah.
And more than that, they're going to battle. There were rules about battle. Now we would assume, and it doesn't say, but they obviously, there was nobody afraid. Usually when you go to battle, right, there was a Kohen who would address the troops and say, who's afraid? Afraid, for regular fear or fear of sins they did or things like that. And it's just like nobody chickened out of this one. They were all ready to go. Now keep all these ideas in mind, because we're going to make a very important observation at the end of this war, which is really going to explain what this whole story is doing over. It's a very simple observation, but you got to keep all these little points in mind. They all got together. Nobody chickened out. Nobody was afraid. And Binyamin was a pretty formidable group of people. It's 26,000 people, and they are fighting for a cause, right? It's our people. We're defending our people. We don't want you guys. We don't think you're right. Again, it's hard to understand what was going through the minds of Binyamin, but nobody chickened out of this one. Okay. Vayakumu plus the Ches, they got up. Vayalu base scale. They came to base scale. Vayishalu ve'elokim, and they ask from Hashem. In other words, they have to know, before you go to battle, you have to decide what to do. Now, there's an interesting question. The commentaries say, Beis El is not, that's not where the Mishkan was. And you'll see in a minute, they're going to ask the Kohen Gadol, via the breastplate, they're going to ask some questions. They should go to battle, and that is where the Kohen Gadol says where the Mishkan is. The Mishkan was in Shiloh. So what's this Beis El? So the Rambam says that it's really referencing Shiloh, and they're calling it Beis El. They're also calling it Beis El, the house of God, which is also what Shiloh is all about. Now let's look what happens here. The Yomer B'nai Yisrael and the Jewish people say. Now they're asking God what to do via the Kohen Gadol. So look at the wording that's going on over here. They ask, Mi ya'aleh lanu batchila. Who is going to lamilchama? Who's going to go first to battle? Who's going to be the vanguard to lead us into battle? Now, what question did they not ask?
If they will win.
What two questions did they not ask?
They should fight with us.
Should we fight? Now remember, this is a civil war. How many civil wars have we had before? None. Do you think there'll be something to ask God about? Should we go to... They're not giving in. They're not doing anything. It's terrible. Hashem, should we go to civil war over this? A. B, they should ask what? Will we win? All they ask is who should go first. So, must not bother them that they're going to civil war. And B, I guess they thought for sure they're going to win because it's 400,000 against 26,000. The only question was who should be the ones to start the killing. Who should be the leader? Vayomer Hashem, Yehuda Batchila. Okay, so Yehuda goes first. As we learned in the beginning of Sefer Shoftim. When they asked who should lead us into battle. Now there was nothing to ask. It's a very interesting parallels when we go way back to the beginning of Shoftim. When did we start the show? After Sukkot? When did we... I don't remember when we started Shoftim, right? It's very interesting. Right in the beginning. Way in the beginning. The second pasuk of Shoftim. Right? First pasuk. Jew says, who should go up to fight the Canaanim first? The very first pasuk in Shoftim. And Hashem said, Yehuda should go first because I've given the land in your hands. So there, of course, they had an obligation to take out the Canaanites. You didn't have to ask Hashem, should we fight? There was a mitzvah to fight. They just said, who should go first? So again, it's kind of funny. So I guess they asked the same kind of question. You understand? Like, why in the beginning of Shoftim, it doesn't say, should we fight the Canaanites? Will we win? What are you talking about? There's a mitzvah. The mitzvah is we have to fight them. There's not a question asked to do the mitzvah. So the only question is, who should fight first? So there it was appropriate to ask it. So Hashem says, I'll tell you what. Yehuda should go, and I will give over the land in his hand. But over here... First of all, it's not so clear it's a mitzvah. Not so. I mean, to the extent of what they want to do, there's something you should have asked. And Hashem just says Yehuda goes up, and Hashem did not say he would win. So, pasuk Yates, Vayekum b'nei Yisrael b'boker, the Jews got up early in the morning. Vayachna, given they camped out against Giva. Vayetze ish Yisrael mulchama Binyamin, the Jews went out to fight with Binyamin. Vayarchu itam ish Yisrael mulchama Giva, and they prepared and they conducted a battle with the people of Giva. So Binyamin, very brave guys. Maybe a show of strength, and they're ready to fight. Maybe they'll back down. Nothing doing. Binyamin vayetzu ben Giva. They left from Giva. Vayishchisu b'Yisrael bayomahu shnayim ve'esrim elef ish orza. They destroyed amongst the Jewish people on that day 12,000 troops fell to the ground. Okay, unbelievable. 12,000. The Jews lost 12,000 in this battle. And something you have to think about this. Why was this a terrible defeat? Right? So the Meforshim explain why did they. Rashi says it right away. So Rashi, you'll see his opinion where the timing of the story is. They lost because they weren't zealous for God when they knew there was a Pesel Micha. Nobody went to battle to stop the Pesel Micha. In other words, God is kind of saying, for my honor, they make a Pesel Micha, and that's up and done, and you must have heard about the Pesel Micha, and nobody does anything. I don't see 400,000 troops where it's clearly avodah zarah is like the worst thing that can happen. Okay, and for this, okay, you know, maybe yes, maybe no, that you should attack. But Hashem got very upset that you didn't protest for His honor for that. For your honor, in other words, it's like for the Jewish honor, when a woman gets raped and she's killed, that's an affront against the Jewish people. How can we let an affront against the Jewish people happen? Okay, you know, could be, you're right. But wait a minute, but the Pesach Mikhal's been going on for a while, and it didn't bother you at all that Hashem's honor was denigrated, so Hashem let them loose. Okay? Pasuk Chav Beis, this is 2 more psukim. So you think the Jews say, oh, it's terrible, they're so strong, let's forget about it. No. The Jewish people strengthen themselves again. So they prepare themselves again for battle in the very same place that they had on the first day that they lost. Chav Gimel. Vayalu b'nei Yisrael, and the Jews went up. Vayivku lifnei Hashem, they cried before Hashem at erev until the evening. Vayishlu b'Hashem lemor, and they asked Hashem the following: How siflo geshes lemulchama b'nei Binyamin achi? At least asking a little better question now. Should we continue to fight against Binyamin in battle? Vayomer Hashem alu elav, go up to them. Chav Dalet. Vayikrevu b'nei Yisrael b'nei Binyamin b'yom hasheni. The Jews went up against Binyamin on the second day. Binyamin went up against them on the second day. And they killed another how many?
Another 18,000.
18,000 troops. All these people were troops in battle. So how many got killed already? 22,000 on the first day.
You're missing 10 right now.
What did I?
22,000, right?
22,000. And now 18. 40,000 people died in 2 days of battle. That's a tenth of their troops. And are they scared and run away?
26,000.
Right. So they were pretty confident they're going to win, and you see that didn't happen. 2 massive defeats in 2 days, and the Chazal say, because why? Because they didn't know anything about Pesach Mich. But what's interesting is you figure after 2 big defeats, say, you know what, maybe we just let them go. It's not worth it. The losses, the casualties are heavy. So we'll see tomorrow how they pick up the story.